Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mindalia TV livestream, where people from all over the world gather daily to watch the interviews and talks organized by Mindalia TV. In this occasion, we have CEO consultant, international public speaker, and president of Wisdom for Kids, Angel Ribaud, conducting an interview to Sharon Hess, titled Use Your Soul History to Heal Your Life. Sharon is a business and mindset strategist. She uses intuition along with her knowledge of universal law and the Akashic Records to help find and eliminate issues quickly. She has studied and taught an 8 course in miracle for over 25 years and learned how to incorporate the principles into everyday life and business. But right before we welcome Angel and our guest, I would like to remind you all that if you would like to help the world through Mindalia, there are a few things that you can do. One of them would be to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mindalia TV. Give us a like or leave a positive comment down below. Please note that with these actions, you're helping us reach even more people around the world who can benefit from the content of our channel. Also, to allow your interaction, remember there's a chat on the side of your screen. You can use it to ask all the questions that you would like to our very special guest, Sharon Hess. And to do so, please remember to tell us where you're writing us from, the question that you have, and also your name. It is time now to welcome Angel and Sharon. Thank you so much, guys, for being with us today. And the screen is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paola. And Sharon, what a big pleasure to have you with us tonight. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Angel.
Thank you. So, you know, I like the part when you were being introduced. I like very much the part of fast. You know, of changing your life fast.
Right.
How is that possible?
Okay, so in reality, and you don't have to understand this, okay, but you know, time doesn't really exist, if you understand quantum physics, you can understand that. But the whole thing is that we can change and shift anything within our life literally in an instant. But what I have found working with my clients is because we have beliefs that we've built up in our life and just things that we've gotten comfortable with that don't necessarily serve us. We think that we have to work through all of those things. When if you would just change your mindset about that one thing, it could actually shift and change everything in your life instantly.
Okay, so let's try to help our audience to do that tonight. So, the name of the conversation was, you know, a soul-driven life. How can we have our life driven by our soul? How can we tap into our soul? It looks like a very abstract term and concept, isn't it?
Okay, so and I want to kind of explain what I mean when I say soul. Okay, so us here now, what we're experiencing in life is made up of our mind, what we think, what our thoughts are, our body, which is actually our vehicle while we're here on earth in our life, and our soul or our spirit, which is the part of us that remembers its connection to our creator. And it's the part of us that's still connected to our creator and that is still connected to all that is. Now, we use the term soul because we like to think of our soul as being individual, but we're actually all part of the same soul. Okay, and I know that sounds a little bit complicated, but like I say, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the way that you feel about it, the way that you accept yourself, the way that you accept the world that you live in, the way that you accept the other people that you live with. Okay, so going with the premise that we're all mind, body, soul, or mind, body, spirit, whichever one you like to use. I know she said at the beginning, I studied and I've taught A Course in Miracles for over 25 years. And in A Course in Miracles, we're taught that the spiritual understanding that we're all still connected to God, our creator. And I laugh because I did this with somebody today. I always say, I use the G word. I'm okay saying God. But some people prefer universe, creator of all beings, the creator of all that is. And the reason for that is because a lot of times the way that we're raised, a lot of households and religions kind of make God like this big guy up in the cloud that judges everyone. And a lot of people have trouble with that. So when you say the word God, they immediately go to that place. And so that's why I say, just if I say God, replace it with whatever works for you. Okay. But because there's a part of us that actually thinks that we are separate from God, that's where our ego was created. That's where our separate self was created. So if we could remember in totality, and that means 100%, our connection to our creator, then we could heal and change and basically shift anything in an instant. Okay. But because we're so attached to this, we're so attached to what we believe we are here in form, we don't let it be that easy. We're the ones who make it hard, right? We're the ones that make it a struggle. So
how can we? Yeah. Okay. It's very exactly. Thank you for explaining it so well. So how can we reconnect with that divine source, to call it some way?
Well, there's not one pat answer to that. And the reason there's not one pat answer to that is because there's not just one way that we disconnect ourselves. Okay. And I always say that we disconnect from our creator in one of three ways: health, wealth, or relationships, or it might be a combination of two, or it might be a combination of all three. Because when we're connected, when we're in the flow with that divine being that we truly are, and we understand that we are co-creating with that which created universes, not just universe single, but universes, that which created all that is. If we could remember our connection to that we're co-creating with that, how could we not create what we want?
Good. Could you share like a technique to try to reconnect? Is that possible? Is there? I don't know. You said,
there's not any one technique, and the reason there's not any one technique is because you as an individual, and I love, a friend of mine came up with this terminology, and I said, oh, that's so perfect. We're all like a Rubik's cube. Okay. And so we get the Rubik's cube exactly where we want it, and then someone else comes along and does something different, and it messes it up all again. Okay. So because we're a Rubik's cube, we have all of these disconnections that we've created ourselves. In other words, what disconnects you from God and what disconnects you from your creator won't necessarily be the same thing that disconnects me, right? Because I've lived a life. I've had experiences in this life. I have memories, beliefs, thought forms that I've created within this life that are entirely different than yours, right? So the way I disconnect is different than the way you disconnect. So therefore, the way that I can reconnect is different than the way that you can reconnect. Does that make sense? Now, there's a lot of spiritual practices, and it's different for everyone. No one can tell you what your spiritual practice can be. And it's interesting. I had a conversation today with a young man, and a lot of people, mindfulness and is very big right now, and meditation, and if you just meditate and you let the thoughts go by, and he said that he actually feels guilty and that it's a burden if he does not meditate and he does not do his journaling and do all of the things that he's supposed to do to reconnect, to his God self, right? So when it becomes a chore, when it becomes something that we feel guilty for not doing, then that creates a problem, because we should always love ourselves and care enough about ourselves and understand that we're doing it from that heartfelt place of joy and love, so that we feel peace while we're doing it, not that it's a chore to do. Okay. So meditation would be one thing. And I'm sorry that kind of went off on a different tangent, but it's because I was thinking about what he was saying today about feeling guilty for not meditating, which that totally, negates the whole reason you want to do it. So meditation is one way. I personally have people that I work with that do energy work. Sometimes it may, you need different things at different times. It could be acupuncture, redirects the energy within your body and the chi that makes up what you are. Some people do it with massage, pressure points. There's just a ton of modalities out there. However, I have, with all the people that I work with, one of the things that I've discovered is that when we recognize something that our ego self is telling us or perpetuating within our life that is actually a lie that goes against the truth, with the universal truth and universal wisdom, when we recognize that, then it can no longer control us. It no longer has a hold on us because it is no longer hidden. So the most important thing that I think we need to look at in our life is, what am I hiding from myself? Where do I have my blinders on that I'm pretending it's not going on and it's not happening? And, sometimes it takes other people to point it out to you, right? In the work that I do, I go into the Akashic Records, which the Akashic Records are an energetic field that is everything that ever has been, right? And so when I go into there, what I see is a person, a soul, see that soul's history, and I see what kind of energetics are going on so that I can help the person know what it is that they need to shift and change, because when we make better choices, we have better consequences. So that's one thing. I had someone who came by this weekend. Actually had a tooth pulled on Saturday, and I had a friend coming over that afternoon to do some energy work on me. And when I went to my dentist Monday, he was like, "You're already healed." And so energy work is there's all kinds of energy work. There's Reiki, just tons of them. So, and no one thing works. There is not a panacea of healing. There's not. There's no one thing that's going to work every time, all the time. And it's because of that Rubik's Cube that we are, right? So it's a matter, what I have found, of getting quiet and getting still and asking the part of you that knows and remembers that you're connected to your creator to point you in the right direction. I used to always tell my clients, it's like following our own breadcrumbs. It's becoming our own detective and seeing what it is that's going on within ourselves. Because remember, everything's projection. Everything that we see, we're looking at from our own perception. And what that means is whatever we've experienced creates how we look at things. What we think of ourselves is the biggest driving force behind what we see in the outside world. That's what projection is. It's like a projector, like a movie, watching a movie outside of ourselves that's telling us what's going on in here, what's going on inside, so that we can look at what it is that we need to look at, and then just let it go. If it's not serving us, and if it is, and we need more of it, then bring more of it in.
Yes. So just one comment. My apologies. When you unwillingly touch the microphone, actually makes
I know.
a
I talk with my hands.
I know.
And that's why I don't usually wear a microphone. But.
No, that's okay. I know. Thank you. And we appreciate that you're doing this today. So thank you. Okay. So then everybody has the ability to like reconnect themselves, and everybody has a different path, if I'm understanding you well.
Correct.
When you what is the way that you like the most to help your clients? When you talk about your clients and the clients come to you and they want to solve something or find something out, you help them using the Akashic Records. That's what you like the most?
I do. Well, yeah, I like, what I do is I when I go into the records, I have Akashic record guides that help me, but I ask them to show me the past life story that will show me the energy that the person is dealing with in their life at this moment. Because here's what I believe. I mean, we're all pretty smart, right? And if we know what it is that we need to look at and change, or where we need to make better choices, then we'll do it. It's just we don't know. And so if I can help guide them in that direction, then then they can come to their own conclusions. It's kind of like, I can tell you how to do a push-up. I can't do it for you. But it's important for you to do that push-up yourself so that you can continue to do it throughout your lifetime. So when I go into the records, I also look at some of the soul's makeup, and we all have like a dominant energy center or a part of us that's kind of like our driving force. It's kind of like your engine. You have your own engine that when you trying to think of a good way to explain that. Okay, so it's like a program in the background, and if you're following that program in the background, and that's how you're presenting yourself in the world, it works better than if you're I don't know, like trying to download and work from a program that no longer works on your computer. Be the best way I think I could explain it.
Okay. And then when you uncover that part of yourself, how can you change it? So you find out about those.
With a choice. Well, we have free will. We have free will. And here's the most interesting thing, though. Okay, so a lot of times we know it and we won't change it because, we can be stubborn, right? One of the things I love in A Course in Miracles is, would you rather be right or happy? Because we get so adamant about being right about things that don't even matter, okay? And I'll give you a good example. And it's a dear friend of mine, and she said to me one time, she said, when somebody wants me to say there's a prayer that Christians believe when you say it, Jesus, come into my life, yada, yada, that then you're born again and you're healed, or, and then you start that path in your life. And she said, when they ask me to say it, I say it. And I was like, why would you do that if that's not who you are and what you believe? And she said, because it makes them feel good. Doesn't hurt me, right? So if you look at that in that sense, for me, it would be like, well, why would you say that if you don't believe it? What difference does it make? It really doesn't hurt you to do that. That's a point of you'd rather be right than happy, rather than just being pleasant and allowing someone a pleasure that they want. That doesn't make any difference to you. But we will fight adamantly to be right about something. And here's the caveat to that. Two people can have opposing opinions and both be right. Okay? And the reason for that is what's right for you isn't necessarily right for me. It may not fit into my life experience the way it fits into your life experience. So would you rather be right or happy? Sometimes I know that I am choosing to be right instead of happy, right? But I also know that the price I'm going to pay for that is I'm going to lose my peace. So, but because of free will, we all have the choice to do that. So a lot of times we will see and know and understand, and we'll get this aha about something we should change that'll make our life better. And we just don't do it. Or we get, we get afraid. We get afraid of our greatness, of stepping into that beautiful being that we truly are. I love Marianne Williamson's poem. It's our lightness, not our dark, that we fear. And the reason for that is because we're comfortable in the darkness. We have taught ourselves how to play small. We have taught ourselves to conform to society and to live within shoulds and somebody else's beliefs, rather than sitting back and understanding that we're all different. We're all the same because we're all connected by our divinity, but we're all different because we're human beings. And if we could all allow one another that truth, and we think it's a luxury, but it's just really the way things are supposed to be. But if we could all do that, then just think about how wonderful the world would be if we quit having to be right, and we quit having to think that another person has to think the same way that we do and believe the same thing that we do, and we we do that because we want to be right. And we think that if somebody else believes what we believe, then we're right. We're right. Those other people are wrong. And there really is no right or wrong. Because like I said, what's right for you may not be right for me and vice versa.
And is there a way that we can identify easily in which place we are?
By how you feel.
Okay.
It's real easy. It's real easy. It's by how you feel. Now, there's only two emotions, fear or love, and everything falls underneath fear or love. And you know what I was taught, and I love this, and I believe it, and it can change your life. Is you only receive one of two things from anybody. You either receive love or a call for love, and you return both with love. So if you're not feeling love in your heart, if you're not feeling, and under love would be joy and bliss and happiness and, you know, just a calmness, a peace, you know, like you're in the flow, like everything just feels really good, you're in the right place. But if you feel any kind of fear, or if you're feeling like, if this doesn't work, then I'm not going to be happy, or, you know, if he doesn't do what I want, then I'm not going to be happy, or if this doesn't turn out the way I want, then, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've got to make it work. I've got to make it happen. You're not in the right place.
That's so profound that you led me thinking.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Kind
That's
of what
okay.
I do.
Exactly. That this is what you do. When you know, while being so many years teaching the Course of Miracles, and I don't know anybody. I've never met anybody like that has done that. Are there any epiphanies that you think, any ideas, concepts from teaching it for so many years that you think have helped you to help the most the people that you have been helping?
Oh, I mean, there's no any one thing about that either. It's just what I try to do is follow my guidance, which is not me. It's if I ever, I laugh, if I ever think I'm doing it, then I'm doing it wrong, right? So I just try to go into my intuition. And by the way, we all have intuition, right? It's just whether or not we acknowledge it and use it, or choose to use it, I should say. It's kind of like, it's funny, I'm sorry, what popped into my head, and I keep saying I'm going to write, and I will write an article about this. It's about your gut instinct. Everybody talks about their gut instinct. And, you know, we were watching America's Got Talent the other night, and at the end, when the judges have to pick one of the acts to save or not, I noticed one of them goes, oh, well, I have to go with my gut. Okay. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And the next one goes, well, I have to go with the way I feel, you know? So it's all the same thing. That's your intuition. That's your self that's getting this out of the way. So I try to just be the messenger. I try to follow guidance. And, you know, it's really interesting, Angel, because when I became better at what I do was when I gave myself permission for two things. I gave myself permission to not know, and that it was okay to be wrong. So when I quit thinking that I had to know everything, I mean, does it ever happen? Rarely. But I would not feel bad if I told somebody, I got nothing, right? And I wouldn't feel bad if somebody said, well, you know, that's just not true. I go, okay, I can be wrong. I'm okay with that.
Do miracles exist?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, of course, in miracles, the term miracle there means when you catch yourself in that little small ego self fearful mind, and you shift back over into the universal love-based centered mind. That's a miracle. And they happen all the time. Now, as far as what most people term miracles would be, like, you know, Jesus walking on water and turning water into wine and things like that. It doesn't have to be that grandiose. You know, I've had a lot of miracles happen in my life. Things that just when you thought they were going to go one way or something was going to happen, and it didn't turn out, and it turned out just in a way you could have never imagined and created it that way. for me personally, a miracle is when I know, like I know, that the creator of all beings had his finger in it.
How do you know that?
By the results, by what happens, by the particular circumstances.
And is that something that everybody can do?
Of course it is. I'm nothing special. We're all the same. Every single one of us has the same access to divine source energy. Every single one of us has the same access to the universal mind. Every single one of us can absolutely understand universal law. Every single one of us has intuition because every single one of us has a soul, right? And I wanted to take a moment. I don't know why I'm led to say this, but one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself is to realize and recognize you are not a body with a soul. You are a soul within a body.
Okay. And everybody has a different way to connect to that divinity?
I don't know that I would say everybody has a different way. I would say it could be very individualized, but it's there. It's there for every one of us. You know what? It's funny because it just dawned on me. It's just a choice. That's all it is. It's a choice. You
Is
can
there
choose.
anything? Yeah, I was gonna say, is there anything that we could advise to Mindalia TV audience that they could do to connect to that divinity?
Well, it goes back to the same thing. It's like, for myself, prayer always works. A lot of people use, I'm looking at my desk as I did that, like a lot of people will use crystals, they'll hold on to that. And because of the energy within a crystal, that will reconnect them. And again, the same thing isn't going to work every time. And the reason the same thing isn't going to work every time is because the energetics of what you have created that are disconnecting you aren't necessarily going to be the same. Now, when I first start working with clients, one of the things I do usually have them do is I say, I want you to write down 25 things that will reconnect you to your divine self if you find yourself disconnected. Okay. And this is like when I have ongoing clients. And a lot of times they can't come up with 25. And I say, well, that's okay. Just start out with 10 and you'll start adding to it, But for some people, it's walking outside. It's like planting your feet firmly on the ground. It's like feeling that Mother Earth and then, taking a breath in. And it could be as simple as taking a breath in. It could be humor. Humor is one of the most wonderful ways to connect to your divinity. It truly is, right? Because we take ourselves way too serious. So it could be going on YouTube and finding, watching a funny video on YouTube. It could be playing a song. We all have that song that it just brings you right to your God self, right? What I thought of was one of the songs that does that for me is I Can Only Imagine. There's something about the words and the melody and the way that song comes across that it does it for me. Whatever it is for you, yourself better than anyone else on this earth. Start paying attention to your thoughts, but also start paying attention even more so to your feelings. There's a saying, and I absolutely love it, that the longest journey you will ever take in your life is from your mind to your heart.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You also mentioned in the beginning or in the introduction that you help not only individuals, but you also help businesses.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how do you, because this all sounds like very personal, right? So how do you relate, how do you help, let's say, businesses or business owners or CEOs to actually use this approach and this understanding of life to help their own businesses?
Okay, have you ever heard the saying, it all trickles down from the top?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so what that means, okay, this is a vibrational universe, right? Everything in this universe is made up of energy, and you don't have to understand that. You don't have to understand how it works. But if you would just start thinking, okay, so if everything is energy and everything is energetics, and everything is put together out of the same stuff, it just depends on how it's put together to create what it is. Then when there's a company, okay, and when I was an employee within companies, the people who owned or ran the companies, it was their energetics that formed what was going on within the company. Now, a lot of corporations will talk about their company culture. It's the same thing. It's the energy that is going on within that company. So if things are, like chaotic, then that means that somewhere within that energy that's coming out and being put out within that company, somewhere within that energy, there's some kind of disconnect, and there's something that doesn't match with the rest of it. And that's where we create chaos, is when the law of attraction. If you're putting out, conflicting energy, then you're going to get back conflicting results. And so with the business, it's actually pinpointing where that conflicting energy is.
Is it easy to find those places in a company where the conflicting energy is?
Of course. You do it, don't you?
Well, probably I don't do it the same way that you do.
No, but yeah, it's because we all have our talents, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's fairly okay. That part is easy, but the hard part is if the company or the owner or the entrepreneur will actually let go of what has created the chaos. Because we love our messes. We can, people who are good at manifesting, people who are good at creating business, they're good at manifesting, but that means they're also good at manifesting messes, right? So we become so invested in what we create, even if it's a bad creation. Boy, it's like telling somebody they got an ugly baby, right? What do you mean my baby's ugly? It's a beautiful baby. It's my baby.
Exactly. Could you, we have reached the end of the first part of our conversation, Sharon. Could you please share with the audience what is the easiest way to find you online?
SharonHess.com.
Okay, so easy.
Fantastic. It took me a long time to figure out that name for my website.
Okay. And typically, what is the kind of people that you like to work with? What are those things that people come to you asking for?
Well, I love working with entrepreneurs because they're the kind of people who really want to make changes in this world. And what I really want is people who have been successful but are ready to up level, to change, to bring something new into their business. I've been really successful when a business has wanted to create a new arm or a new extension to that business, meaning, like I created a print and mail business, and the original business was doing staffed events for automotive dealers. I worked for a printing company, and their original business was doing police, fire, and school, videos and that type of thing. And then they decided to branch out, because they had the printing press, to branch out and to do newspaper inserts. So here's the thing. You create a business, and you have this one business, and you create it a certain way. And this is even if you're going to up level. And then you want to create a new extension to that business, or you want to up level your business. Okay. You're going to have to shift and change who you are as a person to do that, right? People don't really realize we go into business to become the person that we need to become in order to have a successful business, because it does change you as a person. But you don't just get there and stop, right? We are here. Our soul is here to expand and grow and to continue to create. And I don't know any successful person. I think of anybody. I mean, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, think of any of them. They didn't just create one thing and go, that's it, I'm done. Okay, I'm going to sit back and have fun with that one thing. No, they want to expand and grow and look at their what next. And myself personally, I love what next.
Excellent. So let's go to the questions from the audience.
Okay.
First question actually comes from Laurette D. Julian. She says, what does A Course in Miracles say about healing sickness and recovery from illness?
Well, she would be the expert in that, I think. Wait, say that again. Healing sickness and what?
And recovery from illness.
Okay, so in A Course in Miracles, which is Jesus is the one who totes what's said in there. So for sickness, Jesus would say that all healing is on the mind level. And so when we find ourselves sick or in recovery, which recovery would be coming back from some sort of illness or some sort of addiction, right? Then all that means is that we have disconnected ourselves from our Creator. We have disconnected ourselves from who and what we truly are. And I think that's it goes all the way back to at the very beginning when I said, we have this dual thought system. And the miracle is when you find yourself in the ego mind and you shift back over into your divine self. But in A Course in Miracles, it says that we thought, and I said this earlier too, that we thought that we disconnected from our Creator. So if you look at that in a really just net sense, because we think we disconnected from God, we think we killed God, and so we think we don't have a right to have a beautiful, wonderful life. We don't think that we have a right to have a beautiful, wonderful existence. So that's what A Course in Miracles would say, is that heal yourself on the mind level, and then that's when everything will come through and work.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How can we achieve a happy and fulfilled life? What would be your advice?
Wait, so how can we achieve a
happy and fulfilled life?
Choose to. I know that, and I'm laughing. I know that sounds like a simple answer, but if you look at it, and I love this too, it's like if what's showing up for you in your life, if you don't like it, choose again, and keep choosing again. Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, who channels an entity called Abraham. Abraham always says, just reach for one thought better, reach for one thought better, reach for one thought better. So if you want to have a happy, was it happy and successful life?
Happy and fulfilled life.
Oh, fulfilled life. Okay, so first of all, you have to define what that means for you. What makes you fulfilled, right? We pretty much all know what makes us happy, and it's the way we feel, and it's that, peace, love, joy, abundance makes us happy. And I think that's also what makes us be fulfilled. But for me, to feel fulfilled, that's hard to say together, feel fulfilled, is for me to remember who and what I truly am, which is a divine being, an extension of God, our Creator, who is here expressing in form.
Thank you. Next question. Sometimes it is hard for me to shift my energy to a more positive and light state of being. What tips do you recommend to do so?
Okay, so all of us have times that we just can't get there. Anybody who tells you otherwise, I don't think is telling you the truth, because as long as we're here in form, as long as we're living life as a human being, we're going to have bad days. I have bad days, right? The most important thing that I have found is don't let it define you. And don't try to go, oh my God, I'm having a bad day. What do I have to do? How can I shift? How can I get out of it? Sometimes you just need to go, I'm having a bad day. It's okay. Tomorrow's another day. I'm going to do the best I can with what I can and how I can in this moment. And I'm going to try to love myself at least a little bit, just a little bit while I'm doing it. And, you know, when you wake up the next day, you got a brand new start.
Excellent. Next question. Energy-wise, what things do you know work to be able to have a successful business or be successful at work?
Okay, so, well, because everything's energy, that's kind of an ambiguous question because there again, that Rubik's Cube is all the energy that makes up you and what you're experiencing and what's around you. So, was it what energetic? I'm sorry, say the beginning of it again.
Energy-wise, what things do you know work to be able to have a successful business or be successful at work?
Well, it all comes from within yourself. If you learn to love yourself, when you learn to love yourself, then it just automatically extends from you out into everyone else you're around and everything in your life, and it just kind of works. So if you work on self-love and self-understanding and knowing that you're doing the best you can and find joy in even the little things, try to live your life in gratitude, things work.
Excellent. Next question. Lupita Garcia. She's asking, what is the best way to read A Course of Miracles? Thanks.
What's the best way to read it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's a good question. It's a really good question. Because a lot of people think you just take the book and you start reading it. Well, it's written very Shakespearean. Okay. And it's very, you could take sometimes 2 sentences in that book and sit and chew on them for a month and have a hard time understanding them. So the best thing is to find a study group. You can go online and just Google, ACIM or Course in Miracles study group in your area. But the way I did it, I did not start at the beginning of the book and read from beginning to end. Okay. I started kind of looking for themes, if that makes sense. And so I started looking I would ask, okay, so show me things that are connected to perception and my perception and what's going on. But one thing I did do in the part of the book there's 365 lessons, and you do a lesson a day. And it's not one of these things that you have to do one lesson every single day, right? You could do a lesson and it might challenge you. So you can stay on that lesson for a couple of days until you feel you're ready to move on. That's how I did it. That's what worked for me, right? And then I went back and started reading it like from the beginning and going through chapter by chapter by chapter. It's written in a very circular manner because, we all learn on a spiral. But I want to tell you this, you can't do it wrong, okay? Do what feels good for you and do what works for you, because we're all different and we all learn differently, right? But the only thing that I will say don't do differently is do the lessons in order, because the lessons are written to challenge your ego and to get you to understand when you're in ego and when you're following spirit, when you're following your soul, okay? So to me, that's the only kind of rule, if there was one. And, you could probably do lessons in any order you want it and you still get something out of it. There's no right or wrong.
Excellent. Last question. What knowledge can we access to from the Akashic Records? How does it work?
Okay, so different people are given access to different knowledge. I mean, if you're using it as a business, we all have access to our own Akashic Records. And, it's a ton of information because it's the information. It's, like I said, it's an energetic field. It's the history of your soul. You do not have access or permission to go into another person's records unless they give you permission to. Even if you think you're getting something about them, you're not, okay? You have complete access to your own. There's a ton of books. There's a ton of classes. Go on Daily Ohm. There are people who teach you how to do it. Go on Amazon and, look at the various books and choose one that resonates with you. Choose one that you think, that sounds like a good one. That's probably what's right for you. And I want to take a moment and say, okay, so the beginning of A Course in Miracles, he says that this is only one path to God. There are many paths to God, and this is only one of them. And as you start doing spiritual studies, you'll learn that truth is truth is truth is truth. It can be presented in many different ways. You know, I watch YouTube videos from all different kinds of, you know, religions, etc., and it's all the same. The basic foundation, truth is truth. So whatever your path is your path. Nobody can tell you what that is. And the way you can tell is by how you feel and by your results. Results never lie. They never lie. So if you'll look at your results, then you know you're doing it the right way.
Excellent. We've reached the end of our conversation, unfortunately.
Oh, no,
Sharon.
talk more. I don't like talking. No.
It's been a pleasure. We've learned so much today, and you know, you left for sure our audience, you know, thinking about a lot of different things. So thank you again. We really appreciate that you have taken your time to be here with us today. Mindalia TV thanks you a lot that you have been able and you're willing to be here sharing your
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
experience.
it.
Please, could you please remind everybody again what's the easiest way to find you?
SharonHess.com.
Okay, excellent. So again, thank you very much, Sharon. And this is your home moving forward. Thank you for being with us. And this is the place where wherever you want to share something with our audience, we have a spot for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, this is Angel Rebo with Mindalia TV. Thank you for being with us tonight and see you soon. Bye-bye.